Hey. Okay, so since the information presented here is out of the ordinary and goes against what we've been told, it's perfectly reasonable to be skeptical of all of it. These days, we encounter so much stuff, it can be hard to tell what's legit and what's nonsense. And who am I to insist that this is worth your attention? Am I an authority? Am I trustworthy? Right? So, very briefly, I'd like to share a little bit about myself and about my research process, with the point being to give you a sense for why I have a little bit of an outside of the box perspective, and also how I go about ascertaining what's good information. I grew up in the Boston area to two loving parents. My dad was an acupuncturist. He went to medical school and then specialized in Eastern medicine. Since I was a kid, my dad showed me how the body can be healed through its own energy. When I was a teenager, I was skeptical of it, but came around to really understanding that it's not just some kind of placebo, it's not a trick, that this is real and it works. To be honest, I've also been somewhat wary of Western medicine, which has only grown worse since modern medicine has become all about medications. It's like the pharmaceutical industry basically just owns the healthcare industry. I also grew up making art. I loved picture books, and that inspired me to become an illustrator. Making art felt good, and when I saw how much everyone around me enjoyed my drawings, I realized that art is an amazing way to connect with people. Artists are inherently observers of life, right? We see how society works. We don't just accept everything and get in line. We aren't docile sheep. We are comfortable challenging the system. So those are some fundamental aspects to my perspective. I've also been a big reader since I was a kid. Fiction, nonfiction. I love the classics, literature. I love fantasy and science fiction and mystery, as well as, science and nature and psychology and sociology, just reading for fun. When I was a student at art school, I studied in Rome for a year. And I went to the bookstore occasionally, the English bookstore, and I found a book that jumped off the shelf at me called The Orion Mystery. And in it, the authors presented a very compelling case. The entire book is about this very simple premise, which is that the pyramids at Giza, or the three pyramids at Giza, are arranged in a way that perfectly mirror the what we call Orion's belts, those three stars. And that really made an impression on me. There was another book some years later called Psychic Warrior by a man named David Morehouse, who recounted his experience working as a remote viewer for the CIA. There's a podcast that I really enjoyed called Mysterious Universe. It's still around. I basically just absorbed a lot of different subjects, and that included topics and subjects that are just outside of the norm, and what they teach in school. So now when it comes to my approach, what I can tell you is that my process is really simple. I just take my time with it. What that means is that if there's something I'm interested in, a subject I'm interested in, let's say it's UFOs, I zero in on a source, a person, and what they have to share, and I will read, I will watch documentaries, I will listen to podcasts or the radio, and really get to know them and really suss out if they are a reliable source. I have no problem whatsoever just walking away and just saying this isn't working for me. Again, the key thing here is that as an artist, I love imagination. I love stories. I love what we can create. Like I said, fantasy, science fiction, all of that. So I don't need things to be true. I don't need fantastical things to be true. Okay? I'm just interested in the truth in whatever form that might be. And what happens over time is that once I've gotten a real handle on the information presented by a source, then I'll just find someone else. I'll go somewhere else and follow the same approach. And that'll take weeks. That'll take months. That's fine. I'm not in a hurry, right? I just want to know what's true. And so over time, the sources in a way become a little less important and the information itself becomes crystal clear. We could say it's similar to being taught basic math, 2 plus 2 equals 4, okay? You don't necessarily remember who taught you that, because once you really get it, it becomes self-evident. And that's the relationship I now have with all these subjects that are presented here below. So what I'm providing here is what I consider to be a solid list of sources of people who present genuine facts that I believe are worth your attention. People around the world are waking up. And if you want, you can wait for most of this stuff to rise to the surface, into the mainstream, or like me, if you want, you can get a head start and take your education into your own hands. It's up to you. Honestly, I just think this is all important information, and I want to support you in your journey of awakening. And I wish you all the best.